Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of what I like to call Yarmouth Town Meeting Time. We love our town meetings here in Yarmouth, and I take special care to make sure that we produce a little video that we can publicize on the town's website and anywhere people can watch videos so that you can get a little bit of a flavor for what will be happening at our upcoming town meeting. And as happenstance would dictate, we do have a town meeting scheduled for November 17, 2025, and it's going to be at 6 p.m. Monday, 17th of November, over at the middle school right on Station Avenue. And we encourage everyone to come out. Make sure that you understand this is your opportunity to vote on all of the critical issues that face our community. And the fall town meeting is an interesting town meeting because really we look at it as our cleanup. We don't do the annual town budget, but all of the major issues that we need to get us through the year to finish and clean up all of our priorities we have at the November town meeting. So what I'd like to do with you folks is to take a little time, and I'd like to go through each of the articles. I think we have 14 or 15 articles on this town meeting warrant, and give you a little flavor of what you'll be voting on. And I also want to point out that this entire town meeting warrant is available on the town's website, and you can look at it, download it, print it out, and at town meeting, we'll be handing out additional copies, so everyone will have all of the information that we need. And the key items, I'll jump in right with the articles, and we'll talk a little bit about what you're going to be asked to vote on. Article 1 at our November 17 town meeting will be for what they call OPEB. Now that is, in town finance term, a big scary idea, and it represents other post-employment benefits. And in a nutshell, it's an unfunded liability that all towns hold for the cost. These are future costs for health insurance benefits for retirees when they retire in the future. And we have in our community, as many other communities do, a very active trust fund that we fund on a regular basis so that we can ensure 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we'll have the financial sustainability to meet all of our obligations for health insurance benefits for retirees. And so this is a standard housekeeping article that you see every year, where we're going to place at this town meeting $500,000 of some of the town's reserve funds out of free cash into our trust fund to help fund some of those OPEB benefits in the future. And that would be Article 1. Article 2 moves us into a series of two important articles that address environmental concerns that we have in town, and environmental concerns that result from finding what we see referred to as forever chemicals. These are the PFAS chemicals that show up in groundwater. We need to make very, very sure that we protect our public water supply from these PFAS chemicals. We don't want people ingesting those, but we're also moving into a realm where we're studying just the geological and ecological impacts of having these chemicals present generally in the groundwater, even if it's not in the public water supply. So Article 2 will fund $100,000 for the town to conduct additional environmental studies of some of this PFAS groundwater contamination as it's found in general groundwater. And that'll help us get a real handle on some of the problems associated with these substances. And even more importantly, when we move into Article 3, we're going to be funding $300,000 from an account that we've received as a litigation settlement for some of the large companies such as DuPont that has manufactured these chemicals but had no idea of what would happen when they were released into the environment. And we're going to take $300,000 out of this litigation settlement from DuPont, and we're going to place that into an account that will be the design work for a PFAS treatment facility, which will be used to help protect public water supply wells number 10 and number 11. And we ensure that none of our public water supplies in town are impacted by the PFAS, and we've identified wells 10 and 11 as the next to receive actual treatment for these chemicals, and that will be Article 3. Article 4 is another major project that we've initiated in the community, and in Article 4, we're going to be asked to fund $75,000 to continue the town's use of an airport consultant to develop specific mitigation strategies to avoid some of the impacts that Yarmouth residents have felt by the existence of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport in Hyannis. Now, the basic issue that we've had our consultant working with is a roundtable with the FAA and the airport to develop a flight path that would avoid having planes fly directly over Yarmouth residential properties. And we have a system that's worked out that we need to work out also with the airport, but if we're successful, this will have a significant impact on people's lives in Yarmouth by reducing the noise that we experience currently from the Gateway Airport. So Article 4 is for our airport consultant. Then we move into Article 5, and we'll be seeking funds to conduct a structural analysis for the former Lawrence MacArthur Elementary School building that is located right off of Route 28 in South Yarmouth. And it's currently houses the Cape Cod Collaborative, and there also Bridgewater State University, although there's no current university classes being conducted there. There's a lease in effect until 2030, and the town really needs this data to determine what are the best possible uses beyond 2030. And we know that this is an important resource for the town, and it needs to be used the most appropriately. And conducting this structural analysis, which will cost $130,000, the town will determine some of the best possible uses in the future. It could continue as a collaborative. It could potentially be any other public use, elementary school, library. There's really, we need to get the current condition of this building and assess what type of retrofits will be necessary to make it serve the town for another century. And that's Article 5. When we get through that, we move into an article that I think is truly historically groundbreaking for our community. It is the adoption for the first time in over 25 years of a new local comprehensive plan for the town of Yarmouth. And this is a plan. It's on our website. I encourage everyone to go on the website and take a look at the plan. There's an executive summary and plus a tremendous amount of detail. Our local town planner, Kathy Williams, and the planning board has worked for the past 4 years or so on updating this plan, and we're delighted to see a new plan that will dictate the physical future of our community for the next generation, probably. So make sure that you come out and vote on Article 6, adoption of a local comprehensive plan. After that, we move into another maybe historic article for our community. What we seek to do is we have a process in town where it started as a petition article brought by local residents into town meeting and was voted to ban the use of plastic in the food service industry, and that includes takeout. The food that you buy in the store would eliminate all of the plastic storage of that. And interestingly enough, after that first petition was passed, because it was so broad and general, it presented some problems that we discussed at a town meeting in 2024 for immediate enforcement. Some of the products there was just no immediate alternative for. So the community for the past year has been working through its Board of Health to establish new regulations which would eliminate the use of plastic, but also allow for, in only those areas where no additional alternative existed, some more time so that we can move eventually to remove all plastic in a way that doesn't close down any businesses or limit products that people need and want to buy in our community. And so the Board of Health has adopted a new set of regulations that will govern this process, and we seek under Article 7 to rescind the former bylaw, which now is no longer needed because we've used this entire process to develop some detailed Board of Health regulations to get us to that end prize, which will be the elimination of plastic from our environment in the food service industry. So very excited about that. Good example of a way a town can come together, solve these mutual problems that we have in a way that's best for all of us. And after moving through some of the heavy lifting there, we get into town meeting time, which is Article 8. You know that there is a book, and it's called Town Meeting Time, and it's a guidebook for how town meetings are run, how you make a motion, how you second a motion, how motions are acted upon, and it's kind of our rule book, everything according to Hoyle, right? In our case, it's all of our town meetings according to town meeting time. And it was always fixed as of the town meeting time of a certain date. Well, we're delighted, of course, that there is all of a sudden a new, updated, even more special town meeting time book that has all of the details on how to run a town meeting. And so what we're going to be doing is amending the town's bylaw, which establishes town meeting time as our official rule book, and we're going to be using the new edition, or in the future, whatever the most current edition of town meeting time is. So that way, as new rules come into play, new ways of doing town meeting are published in the town meeting time, we'll always have the most up-to-date rules that will govern our public discourse at town meetings. So happy to have the newest town meeting time adopted. And after that, we move directly into a few expense items for capital. We have the golf capital expenses, and it's interesting to note we separate these a little bit away from the April town meeting, and we like to do a lot of the golf capital in the fall because then they're able to conduct their capital improvements at a time that is not prime season for golf. If all of the capital for golf was approved in April, you'd see people banging hammers and digging up holes during the summer when you're trying to golf. And obviously we don't want to see that. So we have the golf capital, a total of $300,000, some interesting items, renovating the bathrooms over at Bass River. There's some design work for the Bayberry Hills Cart Barn, driving range improvements, also some window improvements over at Bayberry. But the golf team has done a great job keeping that experience at a very high level of quality for all the players out there. If you're a golfer, you know that. And so please come out, support the golf capital expenses. That's Article 9. Then we move into Article 10, and it is the replacement of an ambulance for the fire department. Now, it's important to note these ambulances do take maybe 2.5 years to get into one once you order it, so it's important. Where they cost about $550,000. Funds come from our ambulance reserve fund, which is all of the revenues from the ambulance service provision that when you get your ambulance bill, please pay it. And we'll be buying a new ambulance under Article 10. And then we move into Article 11, which is another delightful article we're very happy to present. It's an open space acquisition. And this property happens to be directly adjacent to the Taylor Bray Farm. So through Article 11, we'll be able to purchase property off of Nottingham Drive in Yarmouthport, which will enlarge our beloved Taylor Bray Farm and help keep that into the future as a critical open space resource for our community. And I'm also delighted to let you know that our conservation agent, Brittany DiRienzo, has applied for and received a grant that will cover $425,000 out of the $600,000 price tag for this property. So that is great news for our community and our taxpayers. The remainder of funds on that for property of this quality, it's a steal. So we're very happy to enlarge Taylor Bray Farm through Article 11. And then after that, we get into Article 12, more of a cleanup item. It is to adopt a revised dog bylaw that doesn't have any super critical large changes, but it's designed to update the existing dog bylaw to be in compliance with the new state law. Primarily the kennels, commercial kennels, some of the rules have changed in state law that we need to reflect in our own bylaw. And while doing that, we're also, with the leadership of Mary Maslowski, our town clerk, cleaning up some of the older items so that we'll have a modernized town dog bylaw that is in compliance with the current state law. So that is Article 12. And from that point, we get into what really is a fascinating part of the meeting. Article 13 is to initiate a new elementary school feasibility study. And this is being done in conjunction with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. And the price tag is $1,500,000 to conduct a complete feasibility study for the replacement of the Margaret E. Small Elementary School. And that includes analyzing all of the possible sites, analyzing the needs, and coming up with a plan that is solid for the community. And this will also enable the town to receive a very substantial subsidy from that same state program when we move into the construction phase of that project. So after we initiate the elementary school feasibility study, we have a couple of zoning items. Now, I'm hoping, and I pretty much can count on some of the folks out there, if you haven't heard too much about a lot of these items that we're doing on this November 17 town meeting, you might have heard about some of our zoning things, because these are issues that have arisen as great concerns in the community, and we've had folks in the community studying them for the past year, and we've come up with some solutions. And I really have to thank the planning board for taking these on and making these recommendations to make some improvements in our town zoning to address some areas that members of the community had a lot of concern on. And the first one is my favorite of them all, the live lobster sales. And most folks know we had quite a kerfuffle during the past year. We found out that under the town's existing zoning, it's illegal to sell live lobsters that a fisherman just caught from a household, from a residential property, that you had to have a commercial location. And lo and behold, a lot of folks thought it was okay to do that, but it's a problem with the zoning. So after a tremendous amount of study, there's a new bylaw that we'll be presenting under Article 14 on November 17 at the town meeting, which will provide a process to enable a fisherman to sell live lobsters out of a residential location, obviously under certain safeguards to protect the integrity of the neighborhood, but that addresses those concerns. And so we're very happy to have that issue on town meeting. And the final article is Article 15, and it's a very similar zoning article. Again, thanks to the planning board for taking this up and making some recommendations on it. Another area in our oceanfront community, we found out for the past 50 years, a lot of folks have known it is illegal to store your boat in your driveway. It has to be along the side of the house, past the house line. And what Article 15 will do is it will enable local residents to apply for a permit that will allow you to store a boat in your driveway during certain parts of the year. So that addresses some concerns that folks have raised throughout the past year, and I think does it in a nice way. It'll be great to hear you debate this issue, to vote on this issue, and remember, you determine whether there's boats in driveways. No one else, just the voters of the town. So with that, that is the end of our town meeting warrant for the November 17 town meeting. But just remember, with all of these issues, how important it is that we rely on you, the voters, to come out to town meeting, to debate these issues, and make these important decisions. No town officials will make these decisions, only the voters of the town. So please come out on the 17th, and thank you very much for listening.